Resistance to passive movement. Grab me a pillow. Come on, Snake. So I can palpate her muscles and feel the resting tone, and you can see it. She's got some pretty decent tone in there. She works hard for that. It's excellent.
Yeah, I tried to, doesn't work.
Yeah.
But just go to my YouTube thing.
All right, so I'm feeling her tone. It feels like she's normal. Everybody in here is normal, but it feels on the higher end of the normal scale. So then I would do passive range of motion. And I actually will go and change speed, change range. I want to just feel what's happening to it. If I'm feeling resistance when I bring her out, and no resistance when I bring her in, that needs me to think spasticity, right? Because it's an anti-gravity muscle, okay, fighting gravity. If I feel resistance that's equal when I come out and equal when I go up, that is uniform resistance, which is usually more indicative of something called rigidity. Rigidity is a little bit different. It's what we see in Parkinson's patients. It's a co-contraction around the joint from damage to the basal ganglia. So different. So now I'm saying, okay, so she has spasticity, not rigidity, because it's not uniform. And then I can confirm it by just changing the range and changing my speed, and I can tell, okay, yeah, I can feel that when I go faster, there's more resistance. When I go slow, I don't feel as much. And what you're looking for is, when do I start to feel the resistance? Is it halfway into the joint? Is it a catch and then a release? Is it a catch and slight resistance through the rest of the range? Is it resistance uniform through the entire range that I'm feeling? Because we can actually grade it. Yay! Another scale. And the scale that we use, the scale that we use that you'll hear a lot of is called the modified Ashworth scale. Okay, MAS. If you see on the test capital M, capital A, capital S in reference to tone, I'm referring to the modified Ashworth scale. Okay, and the modified Ashworth scale is graded from 0 to 4. And I would never ask you to memorize this. What I would do is give it to you on a practical and say, okay, this is what you're feeling, what grade would you give it? Or on a written exam. And I don't, because who could fake spasticity? Only me. And evidently. Just kidding. You're not spastic. Anyway, so this would be more of a test question, and I would give you the scale. So please don't, memorize another. I agree with you. Too many scales. Can't memorize them all. They all have numbers 0 through 4. I mean, come on. Can we just pick a different thing? But anyway, so that's the modified Ashworth scale. And grade 0 is no increase in tone, so that would be normal. Remember, the modified Ashworth scale, this could be a test question. And when I say this could be a test question, I mean that I actually remember writing a question on this. Now, whether or not it's actually on your test, I can't promise. But I know when I was looking over these tests, there was a couple of things that I said, this is a test question, and people still got it wrong. I can't believe it. I gave you the answer. Anyway, so this could be a test question. And let's see, where was I going with this? 1, slight increase in muscle tone manifested by a catch and release or by minimal resistance at the end of the range. How would you memorize this? With the effective part moved in flexion or extension. In other words, you feel a little catch and then it seems like it goes away. So that's a 1. 1 plus, and it's the only plus in here. Great. There's a slight increase in muscle tone manifested by continued resistance to movement through the rest of the range. So it's a catch without the release. It's 1 plus. 2, and then we get rid of the pluses. 2, more marked increase in muscle tone through most of the range, but effective parts easily move. So you feel the resistance, but you can still move it fairly easily. 3 is considerable increase in muscle tone, passive movement. If you're struggling to move it, it's a, okay. And then 4, it's just rigid. You really, I mean, it locks up so bad you can't move it. Okay? So that's the modified Ashworth scale. We use the modified Ashworth scale only for increases in tone. Oh, that's the question. That's where I was going with that. You only use it for hypertonia. Why, do you ask? But I asked that question because there's another grade scale, and it's just like grades for tone, they call it. I mean, it has no name. And basically 0 is no response, it's flaccid. 1 plus is a decreased response. It's like the reflex scale, pretty similar. 2 plus is a normal response, 3 plus is an exaggerated response, and 4 plus is a sustained response. That is for high and low tone. Okay? So the modified Ashworth scale is only for high tone. The other scale, which does not have a name, is for both high and low tone.
So this does not have a name, how are we gonna guess that?
It's grades for tone.
Okay.
In the other tone grading scale, the grades for tone, you are measuring hyper and hypotonia, true or false. The modified Ashworth scale measures hypo and hypertonia.
False.
How can
Only hyper.
low tone have a sustained response?
It's not low tone. It has a sustained response, it's high tone.
Okay.
Severe
So-
hypertonia. On the
Okay, for some reason I
graph
thought okay, I guess for the other scale I meant, is it just, that's not related to that?
sheet. No, they're two separate scales.
So the unnamed scale.
The unnamed scale has 4 plus, it's a sustained response, it's severe hypertonia. It almost, to me,
So it's
sounds
not
like a
applied to
plus. Hmm?
If that one's not applied to both.
That one is applied to both. This scale goes from 0 to 4 plus. 0, 1 plus, 2 plus, 3 plus, 4 plus.
Okay, so 0
Zero
is
is flaccid,
hypotonia. So it's
1
hypotonia
is
to
normal,
hypertonia.
2 plus, or 1 plus is normal, 1 plus
Sorry, I don't
is
have the paper in
decreased,
front
2
of me.
plus is normal.
I got it.
Here it's,
I got it.
answer your own question. Okay, so that's how you would look for tone. Why you learn this? You're not gonna be, doing an evaluation assessment tone, but when you're working with someone who has tone, you need to document every time you see them what it is. Okay, so you need to use some uniform scale so that you can communicate that with everyone else. And note that it's not always gonna be the same. Her tone may change if I have her roll on her side because of the reflexes, right? If she has a reflex influence. Her tone could change in the afternoon when she's tired. Or after I lecture, if you're
Yeah.
Just kidding. He is going to head to the doctor. In the morning, it could be different than in the afternoon. So we're always keeping a record of where they're at, because that kind of can carry over into functional capabilities at that treatment time, or it could indicate something's happening. It's just getting worse and worse and worse and worse. It's not going back and forth around its normal. It's just consistently getting worse. Okay, so it's just a way to kind of monitor it. And you must be consistent with how you test it, the position that you test it in. So you can't do it in sitting one day and then supine another time. Because the more gravity has an influence, the more tone you're gonna see. So sitting is gonna be a little worse than supine. Right? So you have to be consistent with how you're looking at it. And you do it one joint at a time. So you can indicate the muscles if that's important for whatever you're doing. So knowing if her biceps has tone, I kind of stick with the level. If I'm concerned about her shoulder, then I'm going to start moving around the shoulder, and I try and eliminate the other joints so I'm not getting influence. If it's rotators, I do rotators. If it's the wrist, I do the wrist. Okay? Or the fingers, I do the fingers. Or the thumb. So test one joint at a time. And then in general, I kind of grade an area, or if there's a specific muscle that we're monitoring, I would grade a specific muscle. So her shoulder might be a 1, her elbow is a 2, and her wrist is 1 plus. So overall, she's between 1 and 2 plus in the upper extremity, with 2 plus at the elbow, or 2 at the elbow. Now it makes sense. Okay, lower extremity, the same thing. Again, you kind of stick with the major muscle groups. We're concerned about the gastrocs, we're concerned about the knee, we're concerned about adductors, rotators. I like to do it in this position. Okay, so you test the anti-gravity muscles in the lower extremity the same way, the same way. Okay, again, we're giving you the scale in front of you, because that's how I always did it. Because my brain is shot. And I cannot remember anything. But I admit it. Unlike some others. So, I keep the scale in front of me and I'll look at each joint and I'll look at the scale and create it that way. So I would ask only of you what I myself can only do. So, okay? So, what I want you to do is break up into pairs, and it should be quick. Do clonus testing. Do the passive testing at each joint. Range of motion. Try changing the velocity. Try changing the range. Look at the two scales while you're doing it, in case you find somebody with an issue. I really, you're really.